With the Royal Rumble now in our rearview mirror, is it time to finally put to rest the moniker of Sammy Hogan? Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry, because we're about to get into that, as well as why it's all a bunch of nonsense. Because today... Sammy Hogan, a less than affectionate nickname that some wrestling fans has designated to signify the over-pushing of one very specific wrestler. Now, personally speaking, I think that this is inaccurate on both fronts of this name. And before we really get into things, I do want to remind everyone that it was just 3 short years ago where everyone was convinced that fans were turning on Cody Rhodes because he wasn't Sami Zayn. Funny how things change, huh? Anyway, let's get into it now. Alright, so let's start by talking about all the reasons why some people feel Sami Zayn is overpushed. And the first reason we're going to talk about is Saudi Arabia, as there are those who erroneously equate this to being Sami Zayn's home turf and have pointed out how commentary has been saying things like, well, Sami Zayn is carrying the country of Saudi Arabia on his back. And they've even gone as far to say he always gets a big push whenever they go there. Alright. Let's start by saying that Sami Zayn is of Syrian descent, and he was actually born in Canada. And for those of you who may not remember, there were political reasons that kept Sami Zayn from going to Saudi Arabia for a number of years. While he did work a few live events under the WWE banner over a decade ago, he stopped going there up until 2023, where him and Kevin Owens successfully defended their tag team championships against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. This was followed by a kickoff match where he defeated JD McDonough, and him successfully retaining his Intercontinental Championship against Bronson Reed and Chad Gable the year after. Then from there, he would defeat Karrion Kross at Night of Champions 2025, and he would be part of a no contest where he partnered up with Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and Randy Orton to take on the Vision. Which leads us to now, where he lost his match against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Now, out of these televised bouts, I would not say any of these were a major push. And why I think it's finally time to put this moniker to rest is, well, he didn't win the title, he lost to Drew McIntyre. Not to mention having a no contest the match before that in Saudi. And I also want to point out that just retaining 2 titles he already have, I wouldn't say constitutes as a major push. Furthermore, even if I was going to say that Sami Zayn gets some sort of home turf advantage, which he doesn't in Saudi Arabia because that's not his home turf, but even if it was the case, WWE doesn't have some sort of rule where they have to let someone go over in their hometown. Wrestlers lose all the time in the places that they're from. It notoriously happened to Bret Hart and the Montreal Screwjob. Not to mention other events such as Drew McIntyre losing to Roman Reigns in Wales. And if you want to say, well, Bret Hart's not actually from Montreal, he's from Calgary, and Drew McIntyre isn't from Wales, well, allow me to point out yet again that Sami Zayn is not from Saudi Arabia. Oh, and also, while we're talking about Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, and Montreal, let's also point out that Sami Zayn lost to Roman Reigns in Montreal, where he is actually from. Okay, so let's get this one right out the way right off the bat, because it's clear that this entire fabricated connection between Saudi Arabia and Sami Zayn is just a bunch of bollocks. Anyway, we did also talk about another wrestler, and that was Karrion Kross. And that leads us to... a big Patreon thank you to Dakari Garmin, Ron Hawthorne, Meiji Strait, and Harry Flynn, as well as to all my other amazing Patreon supporters. Karrion Kross, great wrestler, friend of this channel, and overall really good dude, which makes it all the more confusing as to why WWE didn't push him more in the first place, especially considering that he was leading the sales in t-shirts, and WWE just loves pushing merch sellers. So what exactly happened? Well, there's some people out there who want to put the blame on a certain Sami Zayn-shaped roadblock, but is this accurate? Alright, well, once again, let's go to the records, because Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross in WWE have faced off exactly 3 times one-on-one. The first time was the aforementioned Night of Champions where Sami Zayn was victorious. However, Kross did beat Sami on an episode of Monday Night Raw after that. And to cap off their trilogy at SummerSlam 2025, yes, Sami Zayn did indeed beat Karrion Kross for the 3rd and most recent encounter. Now fine, Sami Zayn did win 2 out of the 3 matches that they had, but I don't think it's fair to put all the blame on him, especially considering that he's not the one booking the show. Now, as I already talked about in this video, as well as I mentioned in previous videos, and it was also confirmed by Ronda Rousey, not that I'm a big fan of hers, but WWE does put a lot of stock in t-shirt sales, and Karrion Kross was selling a whole lot of those. And regardless to whether or not you agree with this strategy, and no, WWE doesn't do it all the time in every single occasion, for the most part, WWE looks leading merchandise sales as a good indicator of somebody specifically that the fans like. Therefore, pushing them makes a lot of sense in most occasions. However, in the rare cases where WWE doesn't follow through on this path, it does make things rather confusing. And so, in the case of Kross, it became a matter of, well, there has to be a reason. And so, a lot of people want to put that blame solely on Sammy. Yes, having a wrestler eat a pin one too many times can most certainly damage their momentum. However, in the case of Sami Zayn, he was just the guy who was booked to do it. I don't think it's fair to put all the blame on him in a predetermined sport, unless of course you're a specific kind of fan. And fine, it's one thing if someone politics their way into a win, then sure, they would definitely get some of the blame as well. But that leads us to the other part of the Sammy Hogan moniker, and one that I have a problem with. Alright, so let's get to the part of the moniker that I think is the most inaccurate, and it's the Hogan part of it, because I think that's inaccurate in several different ways. Starting with the fact that by the time Hulk Hogan was the age that Sami Zayn is now, he had already won the WWF World title 5 times. And as for Sami Zayn, he has won it 0 times. Also, back then, Hulk Hogan had a win percentage of 96%. Where Sami Zayn's win percentage for 2025 was 60, not even a passing grade. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Sami Zayn isn't booking this, he's not a part of creative, Triple H is. And fine, there might be some who think that Sami Zayn might have politicked his way into it, but as far as I know, no one has ever accused Sammy of being a politicker. And if he was, yet again, I would say that's a reputation that's better earned by the likes of Triple H and other members of the clique. Because as I've already said, Hulk Hogan's push was undeniable. Triple H's marriage to the boss's daughter, on the other hand, not so much. And so I think a better nickname would be Triple Sammy. But again, I don't think Sammy is guilty of any of this, at least if I'm speaking logically. But I guess if you were really trying to be logical, you wouldn't have adopted the whole Sammy Hogan thing in the first place. But I guess that's what it really comes down to, is our fears. As there's some wrestling fans out there who just don't like Sami Zayn for a variety of different reasons, and have grown tired of his promos, or have grown tired of watching him be the underdog. And so, what I'm trying to say is, if you've grown tired of Sami Zayn, or you never liked him in the first place, that is your prerogative. However, I would say rationally think about why you don't like him, and come up with reasons that are sensical. And sure, I also remember a time where I cared about wrestling enough to have a deep sense of dread at the idea of someone I don't like winning a world title. But now that the Royal Rumble has happened, and he did not beat Drew McIntyre, and he didn't come in at number 30 to win the Rumble to challenge at WrestleMania, I think it's safe to say it's not a big deal. And even if Sami Zayn does become WWE champion somewhere down the line, it's not something to worry about because, well, number one, this is a fictional sport, and secondly, more importantly, is that worrying doesn't change anything. Stressing about this, complaining about it, isn't going to change the outcome. Well, anyway, that's my thoughts on the whole Sammy Hogan thing, but how do you feel about it? Let me know down in the comments, and please, be subscribed to this channel and leave a like and share this video with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, Dave knows.